"That sad blue planet couldn't launch a fart without our permission," sneered High Chancellor Kyrex, his tendrils quivering with amusement. The fireglass ring shimmered above the twin suns of the Ilarian core. Beneath the transparent floor panels, swirls of orange and violet nebulae danced like celestial silk. Above the chamber's dome, trillions of stars blinked, silent witnesses to arrogance. Delegates from 42 starfaring species lounged across obsidian crescents, sipping crystalline nectar, basking in their imagined permanence. At the room's center, a lone human stood still, Ambassador Reza Hale. No smile, no movement, not even a blink, just silence. He had arrived hours ago, uninvited, and said nothing since. No introduction, no justification, no greeting, only presence. The primitives sent one? A feathered archit hissed, talons clinking against a glass chalice. "Where's your fleet, Terran?" Laughter rippled through the chamber like poison gas. "We offered Earth a seat at the lesser tribunal," growled a Drellian general, voice like grinding steel. "They refused, called us inadequate." Another round of laughter, the kind that dares the weak to protest. Reza stepped forward. Just one step, enough to quiet the room. From his coat he withdrew a single object, a cracked Terran coin. He placed it on the floor. Quietly, deliberately, the coin spun once, then stilled. Heads. He looked up. Calm, cold, human. "That's your warning." No. One moved. No one laughed. Then the suns dimmed, the chamber lights flickered. One delegate turned their gaze upward through the transparent dome, toward the twin stars that powered this region for eons. They gasped. The suns were disappearing. No, not disappearing. Being eclipsed, blocked, swallowed by something vast and moving and silent. A fleet, a wall of black warforms, miles wide and layered in thousands, slid between the fireglass ring and its twin stars. Each bore the sigil of Earth. The old Terran eagle, now sharpened, wings ablaze, talons wrapped around a broken crown. Whispers turned to panic. Holograms blared with alert codes in languages none dared speak aloud. The Ilarian ring began to shake. Reza exhaled. "This is not a negotiation." High Chancellor Kyrex stumbled back, voice quivering. "What is this?" Reza turned. A demonstration. He tapped his wrist. Behind the eclipse, 20 dreadnoughts lit their plasma halos. Not fired, just shone. Lit like a warning torch at the edge of a forest. A single beam lashed out, carving a vertical scar through one of the moons orbiting below. It split in silence, its halves drifting like cold fruit. Gasps, cries, panic. Reza's voice dropped. "An octave. You mocked what you couldn't measure. You laughed at what you couldn't enslave. But you forgot what happens when silence listens long enough." He turned back to the coin on the floor. It shimmered and cracked. "That was our patience. You've just seen what comes after." He walked to the edge of the chamber and paused beside a Drellian commander who flinched as the human passed. Reza didn't even glance at him. "You wanted to know where our fleet was." He pointed at the stars, now blackened. "It's here." The fireglass ring's alarms sound a full galactic breach. The Ilarian suns remain eclipsed. Somewhere deep in the void, a Terran AI signals. "Shall we begin?" The galaxy had long called Earth a dead culture, backward, tribal, fragmented. What they didn't know, what they couldn't imagine, was that humanity had stopped broadcasting centuries ago. No signals, no answers, no diplomacy, only silence. And in that silence, Earth-trained monsters. On a black moon tucked between gravitational eddies in the Termax expanse, Commander Isla Wren stood at the edge of a weapons cradle. Her boots echoed. Down a metal scaffold suspended above rows of dormant warforms, ships the size of cities, pulse rigs designed not for defense, but erasure. "Status?" she asked, voice sharp as carbon steel. Lieutenant Cade tapped into the grid. Fleet blackout phase complete. Sunlight coverage at 94%. Ilarian thermal arrays are failing. Wren nodded. Keep pressure silent. Let the dark think. Her gaze drifted across the suspended ships. This is what they made of us, she thought. When Earth was mocked at the Council of 12, Wren was 12 years old. When the Drellians shelled Europa's colonies for fun, she was 13. When the Archits enslaved 500 million Terrans under re-education treaties, she was 14. By 20, she had been bioforged, neuro-laced, and exiled to command shadows. She tapped her wrist. Her voice replied, "Ambassador Hale requests update." "Tell him we're awake," Wren replied, "and we remember everything." The sky turned black over 10 systems in less than 6 minutes. First Ilaris 4, then Talmor, then the twin moons of Krenthar. Each report came with the same 3 signals. Sunlight obstructed contact lost, with outer grid unknown presence. Origin, Earth, no explanation. No warning, just the void crawling across the stars. At the core of the Galactic Senate Hall, on Mirrodin, emergency protocol bells screamed through ancient marble corridors. Chancellor Jurak, a reptilian diplomat with 12 lifespans of political power, slammed a clawed fist into the star map console. "Where did they come from? How?" An aide stuttered, eyes locked on the holographic web of blinking red sectors. "They didn't come, sir. They were already there." A silence even thicker than the void settled into the room. Across the galaxy, the Terran signature began to appear. Not just on warships, but on encrypted communication channels that hadn't been touched in over 300 years. Old Earth military pings, Cold War relics, self-destruct beacons, awakening codes. They weren't attacking. Not yet. They were surrounding. On Dragala Station, where Drellians once auctioned captured Terran children, sirens wailed as 4 shadows passed overhead. Massive, silent. One of the younger officers collapsed. "They're not fleets. They're—" He paused, eyes wide. "They're walls." Back on the Fireglass Ring, panic spread like wildfire. Delegates screamed into dead comms. Council guards aimed plasma rifles at the ceiling. A hologram flickered, showing the twin suns being eaten alive by the crawling mass of black and Razor Hale. He remained seated, silent, calm. Chancellor Kyrex, the once mocking squid-like ruler, stumbled toward him. "Enough games. Tell us what this is. What are you trying to prove?" Razor finally moved. Slowly, deliberately. He stood and stepped forward, the lights flickering in rhythm with his footsteps. "What you see above you," he said, voice low, controlled, "is not war." He stopped beside the central viewing dome and looked up. "This is context." A few delegates froze. The room dimmed further, as yet another Terran dreadnought eclipsed the last ray of sunlight from above. "Context?" hissed a Varaxi general. "This is an act of war." "No," Razor replied calmly. "War is what you bring when words fail. This is what we bring when your laughter fails." Someone screamed as another moon was torn from its orbit by a ship's gravity anchors. It crumbled into dust, not by weapons, but by sheer presence. Another alien delegate collapsed, whispering, "We never knew. We never saw." Razor turned to them. "You didn't look." A soft blue pulse blinked from his wristband. Earth's Central Fleet AI had just sent one line. "Shall we remind them?" Razor said nothing. Instead, he turned to the room and dropped a small black object on the floor. It was a data crystal. It flickered to life, showing footage, grainy, ancient Earth-style footage. Scenes from the past. Drellian warships bombing Terran refugee arcs, alien soldiers laughing as they planted Earth flags upside down. Razor stepped closer to the trembling council. "You mocked us. You harvested us. You left Earth bleeding in the dirt of forgotten colonies. He leaned in, voice like iron dragged over bone, and while you dined, we listened. A shadow swept across the fireglass ring, plunging the room into near-total darkness. Above them, thousands of warships now hovered, not attacking, not speaking, just watching, waiting. Razor let the silence speak, and then he whispered, "You have." One day, the ocean above Astra 9 shimmered crimson. Buried beneath 50 meters of Martian ice and salt water, it had slept in perfect stillness. The war form had no heartbeat, no eyes, no breath. But it had memory, and now it had orders. Protocol, Ashwake. Signal, Hail Prime. Reason, Galactic disrespect, confirmed. A surge of power shot through its spinal lattice, reactivating. Core fusion cells buried in its chest like the heart of a dead god. Red lights crawled up its body, one segment at a time. Astra 9 wasn't a ship, it was a weaponized continent. 80 meters tall, gravity-resistant plating, wormhole-threading engines. It had been forged in the final years of the Orion Silence, a project so secret even Earth's allies believed it was a myth. In 2329, Earth went dark. No more diplomatic signals. No interstellar broadcasts. The rest of the galaxy assumed humanity had imploded after years of rebellion and planetary loss. They were wrong. Earth didn't collapse. It went quiet. It buried its wrath in stone and salt, coding revenge into steel. Giants that waited and waited and waited. Astra 9 had received its trigger. They laughed at Earth. That was enough. Its arms unlocked with the groan of collapsing tectonic plates. Its chest opened, revealing hundreds of drone-cored subforms, each built for stealth orbital insertion. The Martian water above it vibrated, then exploded upward in a massive geyser as Astra 9 rose. It didn't roar. It didn't speak. It simply moved, and across the solar system it was not alone. On Europa, 4 cryo-cradles cracked open, revealing twin warforms codenamed Judgment and Memory. On Titan, under the methane seas, 3 more lifted their heads toward the stars, their HUDs already locked onto coordinates in the Arctic star belt. On Earth's moon, a buried AI fortress blinked to life for the first time in 194 years. It sent one message: Fleet Omega, now authorized, unveil the silence. In low orbit above Saturn, hidden in the storm's magnetic swirl, the original dreadform stirred. Designation S0, the silence that devours. Unlike Astra 9, S0 was never meant to awaken. It was a failsafe, a last prayer for a planet tired of begging. Twice the size of any known battlecruiser, S0 didn't use engines. It folded the space around it like cloth. It bent light. It drank. Noise. It was never seen by the enemy, only felt. The Dreadform's first act was simple. It swallowed a Varaxi patrol station in 3 seconds. No fire, no debris, just silence. From his command deck aboard the Central Terran ship Judicium, Commander Isla Wren watched it unfold. She had served Earth in secret for over 30 years, never speaking to an outsider, never visiting the core planets. Her soldiers were ghosts, never born in databases, never named in treaties. They were told one thing: wait until they laugh. Wren tapped the console, confirm warform status. An AI replied, Astra 9, active. Judgment, active. Memory, active. S0, functioning. She took a breath, then whispered, bring the stars down. Back on the fireglass ring, the alien. Delegates had begun praying. A Varaxi high priest burned his own robe, in offering to whatever god might stop the dark, but the darkness didn't pause. It expanded. And then every warform turned its face, if it had one, toward the galactic capital, to them, not to fight, to watch. Razor Hale's wrist implant pinged. A single line blinked into his retina HUD. S0 has awakened. Mars is breached, ready for Phase 2. He smiled, not cruelly, not triumphantly, just patiently, because this had never been a war about weapons, it was about memory, and Earth remembered everything. The Drellian High Command never liked waiting. Their culture was forged on conquest, not caution, and the sight of Terran warships, blotting out the suns above 12 systems, shattered their pride. This is psychological warfare, barked Supreme Strategist Vaughn Zek at his generals. Terrans don't have the firepower to hold all these positions. It's bluff. In the war chamber above Prime Fortress Khan, 30 warlords nodded in silence. Drellians didn't negotiate, they demonstrated. Strike now, Vaughn growled. Hit one of their fleets, something big, something public. 3 hours later, 30 Drellian cruisers dropped out of hyperspace above the Nixian Rift. Target, a Terran war form nicknamed Vigil 7. It hovered silently over a dead planet, its black hull absorbing every sensor ping, no life signs, no response to hails. The Drellians didn't wait. They launched everything. Quantum torpedoes, EMP clouds, plasma mines, railgun barrages. The sky split open as the assault hit all at once, a planetary-scale cascade of fire. A spectacle for the galaxy to see. Direct hits confirmed, screamed a Drellian officer. Warform is... He stopped. Because the smoke didn't clear, it vanished. The wreckage the Drellians expected to see never appeared. Instead, the smoke seemed to freeze, then collapse. Fold inward, into a perfect cube of compressed matter that hovered in the air, utterly unnatural. A soft, low hum began to echo across all their comms. Then Vigil 7 moved. 1 inch, and 30 Drellian warships began shutting down, one by one. No blast, no beam, just deactivation. No, systems are unresponsive, cried one pilot. In their command center, Vaughn Zek slammed his fist. Bring in reserve ships, now! But it was too late. Confusion rippled across the fleet. Then, a second transmission, a video, archival footage, grainy, from Kerith Prime, date stamped 2381, a Terran colony, begging for aid during a famine, sending signal after signal to the Kerith Dominion. No reply. Weeks passed, then footage of the colony's slow death, a mother crying over her dehydrated child, a soldier giving his own blood to keep someone awake. Kerith never responded, because the Council had dismissed Earth's signal as too poor to prioritize. Back in the present, that old footage was cut off. A final message appeared. We changed our minds. And then, without fanfare, without warning, a second Terran vessel arrived, then a third, then 500. No weapons fired, no commands issued. They simply appeared. The sky above Kerith Prime blackened again. Not with flame, but with presence. The Alliance fleet didn't wait. They opened fire, but nothing hit. Every missile, beam, drone collapsed mid-flight, as if physics itself had decided to cancel their war. One of the Alliance captains screamed, "We're being scrambled, weapon logic loops folding." And then, a single audio broadcast from the Terran fleet. A voice. Humans. Calm, female. We waited centuries, you waited weeks. Tell us again who's primitive. The Alliance fleet's command ship tried to retreat. Its engines reversed, without anyone touching them. Then its lights flickered, and the old Terran anthem, distorted, melancholic, played over every channel. This is Earth, and we never forgot. On Kerith Prime, the Council tried to negotiate. They sent a final plea. We surrender. Tell us what you want. No reply, just silence. And then, one final message arrived. No voice, just a sentence, carved in fire across their sky. We're not here to conquer. We're here to bury you in what you left behind. Dashari homeworld, Velex Prime. Long ago, its name echoed across slave markets and genetic labs. They had once engineered obedience into Terran bloodlines, called it compliance curation. But now, Now their skies were empty, and their leaders, ancient and bone-thin, stood together in an open field. No palaces, no shields, no posturing, only a message carved into the dirt. "We are sorry." Chancellor Yavin of the Tashari High Blood knelt, ancient robes dusted with soil. "We will not hide," she said, voice trembling. "If they come, we will meet them here, bare, unarmed, with names, not excuses." Her ministers said nothing. There were no arguments left, just memory. They had dissected terrain children in Velek's labs, tried to erase grief genes, burned entire generations in the name of order. And yet, unlike the Drellians or Varaxi, they remembered the faces, the screams. They had been haunted, so they sent a message, simple, honest. "We accept whatever judgment comes. We only ask you remember us too, not as monsters, but as those who finally understood." It reached Earth within minutes. No encryption, no defenses, just raw submission. And then they waited. Hours passed. Then a shadow arrived. Not a fleet, a single. Terran ship, heritage class, designed for diplomacy and historical logging. It landed gently in the field. Dust rose. No weapons extended. The door opened. A human stepped out. Old, wearing no armor. Only a black coat marked with Earth's emblem. The eagle clutching ash instead of lightning. He walked up to Chancellor Yavin, stared, then placed something on the ground between them. A data pad. She picked it up. Her breath caught. It was their records. Her records. Personal logs from 207 years. Here you go. Notes she wrote, files she deleted, orders she gave. How did they have this? She scrolled through them with shaking fingers. Each one was paired with an image of a Terran victim. Each one cross-referenced to a memorial Earth had built in silence. One name caught her eye. Subject 42B, Ava Hale. An infant. She looked. Up, eyes brimming. "You kept every name." The human nodded. "Even when you threw them away." She fell to her knees. "We were wrong. I know. Do we get forgiveness?" The human didn't speak right away. Then he pointed to the sky. Dozens of small, glowing satellites now orbited Velek's Prime, each one broadcasting the same thing. Every Tishari atrocity, unfiltered, unedited, to every species, every system, every ship forever. "No," he said quietly, "but you get remembrance." The Tishari didn't resist. They watched their shame spread like stardust. They didn't look away. That was their sentence, and strangely, their freedom, because Earth did not need blood. It needed the truth to never sleep again. As the human turned to leave, Yavin called out, "What are you?" He paused at the ramp, then turned, eyes tired but sharp. "I'm what happens when silence grows teeth." And then he vanished into the sky. Ketheri System, Outer Rim Territory. Year 4968 of the spiral era for generations. The Ketheri were told that Earth was a fable, a tragic tale of a primitive world that dreamed too loudly and was crushed under galactic boots. In their stories, humans were described as the brave fools of Sul, romanticized, mythic, extinct. But now the sky above their second moon was covered by 3 Terran warforms, not attacking, not moving, just watching. On the surface, young scholar Theron sat on the white sands of the observation ridge, staring up through his magnoscope. The silhouette of the nearest Terran vessel, Oblivion's Whisper, covered half his lens. He didn't feel fear. He felt reverence. "Is it true?" he whispered, recording a message on his translator stone. Did they really survive all this time? Alone? Around him, other scholars from the Cathari Academy gathered, muttering in hushed tones. "They say Earth was erased." "No, they say Earth erased itself. I heard their voices sing into stars and vanish. I heard they could collapse." Gravity with a whisper. Theron looked at them, his violet eyes serious. "We have to speak to them, not as politicians, not as soldiers, as children of the story." They sent a message, raw, unfiltered, recorded in the Cathari heart tongue, a language known for its emotional weight. To the ones who walked into legend, if you are truly Earth, we are not here to fight you. We are not here to ask forgiveness. We only want to know, how did you survive the silence? The message was transmitted across open frequency bands. No encryption, no power play, just the truth. And they waited. On board Oblivion's Whisper, the crew watched the transmission. Commander Isla Wren reviewed it 3 times in silence. Finally, she turned to a young ensign. "They're not mocking us." "No, ma'am. They revere us," she considered, then nodded. "Send them an answer. Not from command, from memory." The Cathari got their reply. Not a voice, not a face, but a recording, old, damaged. A Terran girl, barely 10 years old, looking directly into a cracked lens. She was dirty, crying, standing in the ruins of what looked like a city. Behind her, smoke billowed. Alien banners waved from shattered rooftops. She held a small flag. Earth's. She spoke through tears. "They told us we'd be safe if we surrendered. They told us they'd feed us. They told us we weren't worth keeping alive. I miss my dad. If someone ever hears this, please don't forget us." The video was cut off. Then a voice followed. Not the girls. An older Terran male. Calm, clear. "You want to know how we survived the silence?" A pause. "We didn't. We became it." Scholar Theron fell to his knees. The rest of the Cathari scholars went still. None of them had expected that. None had understood what silence meant. Until now. Back aboard Oblivion's Whisper, the crew sat in thoughtful silence. Commander Wren stared out at the stars. "How many more races believe we were a fairy tale?" Her officer replied, "At least 40, ma'am. Some have Earth painted on their temples. Others thought we were gods. Or demons." Wren exhaled. "They're not wrong." Theron sent a final message, a whisper. "We will carry your silence like a crown." He knew Earth would not respond again, because the lesson was clear. Earth wasn't there to be worshipped. It was there to remind them what happens when you mistake silence for surrender. The Yasari were traders, deal-makers, survivors. They had survived 5 galactic collapses by doing one thing better than anyone else, calculating what things were worth. So when Earth's fleet began to blot out their stars, they didn't send a fleet, they sent an offer. In the grand hall of Estelune, beneath the opal towers of their capital, the Yasari Chancellor stood on a shimmering platform, surrounded by his cabinet. His voice was broadcast to the stars. "We acknowledge our part in Earth's pain. We do not ask forgiveness. We offer balance." He raised his 4-fingered hand, trembling. "We hereby surrender 26 planetary systems, 2 military fleets, and our command AI matrix. We place them under Terran authority, to be used or destroyed as Earth deems fit." A pause. Then the impossible. "We also offer ourselves." 5 Yasari leaders stepped forward, knelt, raised no defense. One pressed a ceremonial blade against his own chest. "We give our lives if it will stop what comes." Silence. Across the galaxy, species watched the transmission in disbelief. The Yasari were offering their empire. What else could Earth want? Surely this would be enough. Surely they'd earned mercy now. The response came not from Earth, but from orbit. A Terran ship appeared above Estelune, small, unarmed. It opened a signal, a simple video message, a voice. "Humans, calm. We don't want your fleets." A pause. "We don't want your systems." Another pause. "We don't want your deaths." The Shisari leaders looked at each other, confused. Then the message continued. "We want your memory and your silence." At that exact moment, across all Yasari networks, a virus pulsed through their infrastructure. It wasn't destroyed. It didn't steal. It was muted. Every propaganda file that once called Earth barbaric was replaced. With the names of Terran dead, every textbook that justified colonial war now displayed faces of disappeared Earth civilians. Their history was rewritten, not by force, but by truth. The virus renamed their starports, their street signs, their nav charts. Every child born from that day forward would walk through a galaxy that reminded them what they did every day, forever. In the silence of the Estaloon Hall, the blade was lowered. The Yisari Chancellor spoke again, voice cracking. Then, "You want us to live." The Terran message ended with a final line, "You don't get to die clean." In the orbiting Terran ship, Reza Hale stood watching the feed. A young soldier beside him finally spoke. "That was merciful." Reza shook his head. "That was just," the soldier hesitated. "They would have killed themselves." Reza turned slowly, his face unreadable. "So did we. Just slower." Back on Estaloon, the skies remained dark, but no fire fell. No war forms descended, only silence and memory. There was a place so far removed from the galactic grid that even time seemed to hesitate near its orbit. A black planet, unmapped, unseen, surrounded by electromagnetic storms that looped like serpents, and a gravity well that devoured even dark matter. They called it Terra, but no alien tongue had spoken its name. In 3 centuries, because no alien even knew it existed, Terra was born not in hope, but in finality. When Earth saw the walls closing in, the treaties broken, the Allies turning silent, the border systems collapsing under civilized alien fire, one directive was whispered beneath mountain bunkers and under Martian. "Ice vaults, if we lose the world, let the soul survive." And so Project Terra began. Sealed ships left Earth in the quiet hours after the last orbital bombardments. No fanfare, no transmissions, just engines spinning against silence. Their coordinates were erased. The scientists wiped themselves from all records. No one knew where they went, not even Earth itself. It was humanity's last memory vault. For 300 years, Terra didn't broadcast, didn't expand, didn't interfere. It simply watched, invisible. Observation drones, disguised as comets and stardust, floated across the galaxy, gathering everything: alien propaganda, treaty lies, footage of Terran deaths rebranded as civilized pacification. They saw the statues built over Terran graves, the libraries that omitted Earth's name. The children taught that humanity deserved extinction, and they remembered. The colony lived in reverse. Where other civilizations taught history as past, Terra lived it as present. In their schools, every Terran child memorized the names of the lost cities: Lagos, Rio, Damascus, Seoul, Lahore, Boston. They whispered old Earth languages like prayers: Swahili, Urdu, Gaelic, Navajo, Yoruba, Latin, each. City was rebuilt in simulation, not to play, but to grieve. Every evening, holographic veils projected scenes of Earth's fall. Children stood in silence, not because they were sad, but because they were learning to become the memory. Now, in 2665 PGE, post-Galactic era, the signal came. From Earth, from the fleets that had blotted out 27 suns, from Reza Hale himself: "Humanity endures. Begin phase Omega." In the central command well of Terra, Overseer Ellis Rahn stood above a platform ringed with memory vaults. Holograms of Earth's final days played in slow motion, people hugging under ruined bridges, Terran children planting black flags in ash, soldiers uploading the last planetary backups into crystal cores. An assistant approached her, nervous. "Ma'am, the galaxy thinks we're a myth." Rahn smiled faintly. "Let's show them we're not to." Across the obsidian plains of Terra, the Earth itself opened. Massive hangars rose from beneath canyons. Lightless launch bays ignited, ships emerged, legacy-class vessels built not for conquest, but for consequence. Each ship held libraries, full-spectrum neural records of Earth's last 500 years, VR archives of forgotten truths, AI-encoded confessions from alien warlords, audio logs of Earth's cries during invasions the galaxy claimed never happened. Every weapon had been replaced with witnessing. Fleet Omega lifted from the ground with no war horn, just a whisper. A message encoded in every ship's pulse signature. We are the stories you tried to erase. As the fleet vanished into the stars, Overseer Ran turned to the remaining citizens. Today, she said, we bury the myth and raise the truth. On the Terran flagship Judicium, Commander Isla Wren watched the incoming signals. Thousands of tiny pings, low-level, unarmed, but each one carried a pulse. She ran the code. It wasn't tactical, it wasn't strategic, it was ancestral. She recognized the voices inside, her mothers, her brothers, people she thought lost forever. Earth had saved not just its vengeance, it had saved its heart. On dozens of alien worlds, the Omega fleet didn't attack. They simply arrived, one by one, above the capitals, space stations, battle academies, cultural museums. They opened their holds and began playing Earth's last memories into open space. On Varaxi Prime, political leaders watched in horror as a 7-hour audio log of a Terran prison massacre played above their citadel. On Drellian training grounds, cadets vomited as VR overlays showed them what their ancestors did to Terran infants during the peacekeeping years. On the Arkit moons, history archives were overwritten, not by hackers, but by truth algorithms encoded in living Terran. Data crystals, you cannot destroy memory. You cannot silence sorrow. You cannot erase what remembers itself. Back on Earth, Razor Hale received the final confirmation. The Omega fleet was operational, and terror had risen. Humanity was no longer alone. It had outlasted extinction. In his private log, Razor wrote one final message. This isn't war anymore. This is testimony. Let the galaxy hear us now. In every language, in every world. We are not here to dominate. We are here to ensure. You will never forget what you did to us. There was no war, no final battle, no climactic clash above the galactic capital, because Earth didn't need one. By the time the fleets arrived, silent, dark and vast, the galaxy had already lost, and that was the point. They had laughed at Earth, mocked it, harvested its children, written songs about its fall, declared it extinct in museums, forgotten in schools, unwritten in laws. But Earth never asked to be feared. It only asked for truth. And when the galaxy refused, Earth did not shout louder. It whispered deeper, until the stars listened. And then the stars spoke back. Above the skies of 70 worlds, Earth's fleets waited, not hovering like conquerors, but orbiting like judges, unarmed now. No weapons active, their systems powered down. They were monuments, not machines. Each bore the same mark, a single silver coin etched into the hull, spinning in holographic light. The galaxy would learn what that coin meant. In time. On the Terran flagship Judicium, Commander Isla Wren stood at the edge of the observation ring, watching as her officers ran the final program. Phase finalis confirmed, memory seed deployment synchronized. She didn't speak, she didn't need to. The mission was never about domination, it was about presence, and now Earth was present in every system that had denied it. The process was simple, brilliant, unstoppable. Earth's AI core, Ararat, had been quietly seeding itself into galactic infrastructure for decades, through black market trade terminals, through captured satellites, through forgotten deep space relays and old quantum keys left behind during the colonial purges. And now, with one command, it woke up. First to fall was the Varaxi education grid. Every textbook across their homeworld was rewritten in less than 16 seconds. Entire generations of propaganda burned away and replaced with Earth's true story. No embellishment, no rage, just faces, names, footage, testimony. In a single Terran-sent virus, 412 years of denial were undone. The Varaxi sovereign resigned within the hour, her last public statement. They gave us mirrors, and we shattered under our own reflection. Then the Archits, the architects of so many forced Terran sterilizations, their cultural archives were altered, not deleted, but augmented. Each holographic display now included a Terran voiceover, a shadowed figure who would appear in ceremonial footage and quietly say, "Do you know who you erased to build this?" The voice became known as the Archivist. Within weeks, Archit universities began offering Terran ethics as a core subject, not because they wanted to, but because their own youth demanded it. And then the Drellians, proud, brutal, efficient. Their response was the same it had always been: aggression. They launched missiles toward one of Earth's inactive memory obelisks, a simple structure parked in orbit over a neutral moon. No response came from the obelisk, but the moment the warhead exploded, the Drellian fleet's entire targeting system inverted, thousands of weapon arrays realigned toward themselves, ships self-destructed, pilots panicked. Within 2 minutes, the fleet ceased to exist. Not a single Terran ship fired a shot, just silence. Back on Earth, the skies above the old cities were quiet, clean, rebuilt. There were no parades, no speeches, just open plazas carved with names. Names of the forgotten, the civilians, the ones who never fought, the ones who never had the chance to. Each plaza had a small, solar-powered pedestal. On it, a single button. When pressed, it played a voice, a whisper. No matter the city, no matter the name, the message was always the same. "I didn't die for revenge. I died hoping you'd never forget me." The Enterra fleet, the silent architects of Earth's rebirth, delivered the final phase of the mission: legacy crystals. Thousands of them, each the size of a child's fist, dropped in low orbits across the galaxy. Each one a living archive, containing stories, smells, songs, and languages of the old Earth, not just tragedies, but joy, triumph, love, a mother singing under a Martian sky, a couple dancing in the ruins of Lagos, a child's laugh echoing through Europa's storm tunnels. On Varaxis 9, a small village elder touched a falling crystal. It lit up, playing a hologram of a Terran elder planting seeds in blood-stained soil. The message: even after they burned our homes, we planted tomatoes because the sun still rose. So we did too. On Archit moons, young students began tracing Terran poetry into the walls of their classrooms, not as rebellion, as ritual, because somehow the words gave weight to their own history. The archivist's voice now played during ceremonial crownings, not to shame, but to remind. One species, the Vashari, attempted to resist. They built a firewall wall, an entire satellite ring meant to block Earth's memory seeds. It worked for 23 hours. Then a Terran-coded song began playing on every frequency. Soft, haunting, no lyrics, just a child's hum. One that matched a broadcast from 274 years ago, recorded during the siege of New Kinshasa. The firewall disintegrated. The Vashari high priest declared a planetary day of mourning, not for the Vashari, for Earth. In the final hour of the mission, Razor Hale stood alone on Earth's last functioning lighthouse. Its beam was not for ships, it was for stories. Each flicker was a transmission, a new legend, sent into deep space, unclaimed sectors, galaxies that never heard Earth's name. Now they would, because Earth was not dying, it was becoming myth. The last message was sent not in code, not in language, but in pulse. 12 billion Terrans, all across The colonies, the vaults, the reborn cities stood still for 60 seconds. Their heartbeats were recorded, synchronized, transmitted, and wrapped in one phrase: we were here. And then the fleets powered down, the warforms dissolved, the obelisks stopped transmitting, the stars once again belonged to the silence, but not the kind that forgets, the kind that remembers. In the centuries that followed, alien children would look up at the night sky and ask, "What is that symbol?" And their teachers would reply, "That is the coin of Earth, the one they spun in silence, the one that never landed, the one that meant we remember."